Hello.
Hey,
Hello. Hi, Thomas.
how you
Hi,
doing?
Daniel.
Leon,
Thank you very much. How are you?
great, thanks.
Everyone.
Is my
Hi,
sound
Vladislava.
Hi, hello everyone.
Yes.
Right, let's give it a few minutes. How's everyone doing? Everyone okay?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Pretty good. Getting towards the end of the workday here in
I
Europe.
cannot hear you for some reason. So let me just do
You not
that.
hear Dan? I can hear Daniel.
Yep.
1 second.
Thank you, Thomas.
Let me just see where the audio is here. Okay. You guys can hear me okay?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I cannot hear you. So
Oh, we can
give
all
me
hear
one
each other, so that's a good start. Like, it's always a relief when you're not the one that
one
can't
of
hear.
those cases, right? It's always like this. So I don't know why. Let me just see if I can move this. Audio settings. Give me 1 second. Okay. One last one. I think I got it.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, I can hear you
Cheers
now.
now.
Okay.
All
good.
right.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that, guys. Great to have technology. It helps a lot with everything. However, sometimes, yeah, it can happen like this. Perfect. So I'm just going to give it another 2 minutes. So we start 5 past. Okay, just maybe some of the people are going to be joining, and then we'll make a start.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
So just checking the order. Alex, then Vladislava, then me, right? So third, then Daniel after me.
Yes, correct. And then we
Who's handing off between? Are you handing off between the two, or are we just introducing each other?
Yeah, so I'm going to be basically being the moderator here. So going between the presentations. Ideally, let's try and keep it at 10 minutes each. Now, I know sometimes we can go a bit over or rarely a bit under. So let's try and be at that. And then we're going to have some time towards the Q&A at the end for people listening. They can submit their questions through the chat here, so I can get those answers for you. Yeah, that's it.
Right.
Right. So let me make a start. So first of all, I just want to welcome everyone on this call. This recording is also going to be available, so you can check it out. You'll check it out on all of our social media as well as YouTube channel, so you can find the recordings. Right. So with that said, let me make a start. Let me know when you can see my screen. So hopefully that should be coming through. Yep. Okay, cool. So, right. So I'll start with my first 10 minutes here. So my name is Alex. I'm from Lezat. So we are an agency that does A to Z on Amazon and helping a lot of companies grow on Amazon. Now, this particular topic here that I've selected is how to basically support sellers that are looking to grow in the EU. What should sellers expect and what should they aim for? Now, I know EU is a topic that is very hot right now because of Trump tariffs and also US sellers trying to diversify their channels and expand it to other territories as well, which all makes sense. So really, by the end of this presentation, I've tried and keep things simple, straight to the point. I'm expecting you get some better understanding of what you aim for, what is an expectation and a reality. So I'm trying to do it like this. So what people usually expect things to happen and what is the reality. Now, we've worked with over 500 brands these last 7 years we've been in business. Some are household items and some are startups, etc. So we've seen the whole range, trying to consult very big Fortune 500 companies and how to grow Amazon EU, as well as how to get a hot startup from US trying to move over to EU. As a general rule of thumb, now I've mentioned some of these things on my previous webinar as well, so for those who haven't seen it. So you don't really want to be expanding on Amazon EU unless you're doing 50,000 a month on Amazon US or at least 150 outside of Amazon, really, if you want to just go US and EU, etc. Similar sort of ranges would apply for UK, for example. So as I mentioned in my previous presentation, I have discussed 10 pitfalls and common issues that people have before expanding into EU. So I don't want to focus on those. I'm going to give you 5 bonus ones, 5 extra ones here. So let me start. Expectation first that I hear quite a lot from brands and brand owners wanting to expand is that expanding into EU, or they have the expectation that expanding into EU is going to be as easy as expanding into US. So, we've already done the hard bit. We've got our products, a production line, maybe in China or in US. So we're just going to ship it in an Amazon warehouse. Amazon's going to do the logistics and everything is quite easy, right? And sometimes even maybe directly from the Chinese factory into the warehouse and everything's taken care of. Now, for those who have been selling on Amazon EU or know this is far but the truth. It doesn't happen like this in EU. So, in US, obviously, you've got one country, one language, one tax system, almost, because obviously each state a bit changes, one seller central account, and usually just one packaging, right? Okay. And then one of the most common, I would say, at least within the top 3 questions that I'm asked is, Alex, what do we do with our packaging, for example, when we sell in EU? Because you want to keep that barcode to keep those reviews. But at the same time, keeping that barcode also means that the packaging is going to be the same. So how do we deal with it? Obviously, many factors go in. So it depends how to deal with it, how big your product is with insets or other things. So in EU, you have other languages, Germany, France, Italy, Spain, EU4, as we call them, plus the rest like Netherlands, Belgium, Poland, Sweden, Turkey, for example, Ireland that came online. So many languages, complexities, VAT, all of that stuff goes into play. So realistically, it is actually more complex to sell, but it's actually doing it with the right partners, and something we're going to go through on this call as well with everyone here is going to make this transition much smoother, much more professional, something that actually is more stable. And guess what? When something is a bit more difficult to get in, you're also going to find some less competition there. So it is worth doing it, but doing it correctly. That's what I always recommend on clients to do. So that's the reality. Expectation 2, Amazon EU is not as big as USA. Probably another very common one that we hear. So yes, we all know how big Amazon.com is. Obviously, it's the biggest marketplace around the world. Second biggest one is Germany, followed by UK and so on and so forth. However, it's not actually just the number of visitors that you want to look at. So this is something actually I stole from my previous presentation here because I spent a bit of time to do these calculations. But essentially, if you combine this traffic, okay, and all of these sources, I have them underneath here in terms of where this is. So 2.7 billion is the traffic that was in September 2024, for example, in US. And if we combine in EU is 1.8 billion. Now, if we say, well, okay, traffic now compared to how many sellers, 1.9 million in US, 1.15, let's call it 1.2 in EU. But if anyone has been selling on Amazon EU, they know that they usually tick all of these boxes quite easily. So therefore, a seller that you see on these numbers in France is the same seller in Italy, is the same seller in Spain, is the same seller in Germany, for example. So really, if we talk about unique sellers, and actually the fact that less than 1% of Amazon sellers in US sell in EU, then you're not talking about 1.15, you're actually talking about 500,000 sellers. And now if we go how much revenue these people do, essentially per marketplace and combine them, this is your average revenue per seller in EU. So therefore, this is a better way of measuring it. It's something like your GDP per capita, right? There's no point in having high GDP if your GDP per capita is really, really low. You want to say, well, how much money do EU sellers make? And actually, because of competitions and complexities, it's something that the people who do it correctly actually reap the rewards. Yeah, exactly what I say here. So you're actually Amazon sellers that do it professionally in EU are better off. Now, expectation 3, you will see profit on month 1. You know, we sell very well in US. We've got an amazing product. So of course, let's go in. We're going to make money on month 1. Why? Well, the expectation is people think that SEO factors, let me just call it in simple terms here, is sales, right? Whether I call it sales velocity or just sales. But reality is that there's a lot of elements that go into ranking a product on Amazon. Your click-through rate, your conversion, your in-stock rate, your 180 days of sales, off-site sales, PPC sales, reviews, your seller health, if you've been in stock for a while, impressions, all of these play a role. Now, yes, we're going to carry these reviews across from US into EU. So, but all the other things really come without any record for the local marketplace. So, for example, Germany. And to make things a bit more difficult as well, your US reviews will come over, but you need actually ideally to do Vine or start getting some local language reviews to support with your conversion rates as well. So it's a realistic expectation to think you're going to break even between Q1 and Q2, really, depending on how competitive the marketplace is and how unique your products are. And obviously, that makes sense because you're also going to be increasing your shipments and have better economies there. So expectation 4, I've got 5 of them. So selling all my products in EU gives me much better chance of success. Actually, that's not a reality. Try and focus on your best sellers. Try in a small select niche of group, maybe 5 or top 5, top 10. You want to do it Pareto, do it by Pareto. However you want to do that. Maybe there's some local analysis you can do. So for some other clients, for example, we offer specific audits because what works well, marshmallows, for example, in US might not work so well in Germany, for example, vice versa. So in which case you can do some better adjustments if you want with like tools like Helium 10 or Jungle Scout to see market sizes and so on. And basically try and focus with these select few, launch them correctly, and every 6 months, for example, say, right, which ones do I want to take out? Which ones do I want to add in? So start with the products that have the best chance of success. And final expectation here is that FBA is the best way to sell in EU because that's how it sells in US, you know, for the majority, let's say, of the product. Reality is it can get a bit expensive, like very expensive, actually. So we're used to maybe in the UK, FBA not being bad price for the majority of the products. Obviously, some products are different. And in USA, the same. But in EU, it can get expensive. And sometimes it's difficult to track Germany to France or Germany to Italy or Germany to Germany or different SKUs with sizes. So make sure you know these beforehand and maybe might be fit to also look at a 3PL partner to start with to do the FBM side because it's going to take some of the load off and you have a bit more control in things that you can do that way. So final thing here, again, Amazon is a patience game. We all know this. Whoever's been in this game for a while, they know it's a patience game. Expanding into EU is exactly the same. Do each step correctly. Have smart people support you, so companies that can support you each step of the way. So you close those and not have to redo them again. And basically enjoy the ride because Amazon EU is one of those places that you're always going to see new data coming in, sales going up, or some marketplace going differently than what you expected. So it's going to definitely help you get your journey further on Amazon and off Amazon, selling them. That's it, really, from my slides. So with that said, I hope this has been insightful for you guys. So I'm going to pass it on to the next member of the team.
Thank you so much, Alexander. That was impressive, and I absolutely agree that at the beginning it can be tough, but at the end you will get your bonuses. So let me take the screen and start my presentation. And There we go. So I suppose that my screen is visible now, and here we are. My name is
It is.
Vladislava. I will be happy to guide you and through the such essential and important topic for Amazon as a third-party fulfillment, when and why it's beneficial. So today we will discuss why it's crucial and when you should start considering choosing additional fulfillment provider for your Amazon business. Exactly, in Europe. That's good that Alex mentioned that in US, that's completely different story to work with FBA comparing to Europe. So now we are going to speak exactly about your region. And yeah, as I say, my name is Vladislava and I am a part of Vapi team. Vapi provides the Amazon sellers, e-com sellers with the fulfillment. We pick and pack and deliver the goods across all the Europe. And let's start with the basics, the exact understanding of fulfillment options that every Amazon seller has. The first one, and very popular in the US, it's FBA, exactly fulfillment by Amazon. It's easy, it's convenient. You don't need to worry about logistics. You just store all your goods directly by Amazon. Amazon takes care of picking and packing, delivering your goods. He also has the Prime options and additional marketing tools that Amazon offers for those sellers who use their fulfillment. But yeah, you need to understand that it's costly and there is some moment that you cannot control and take part of. Fulfillment by merchant, yeah, this is completely opposite. You take care of storing, picking and packing, delivering the goods by own. So it's fully under the control of the seller, and you can store it even at home if you're just a beginner, just to save your costs. So that's absolutely as per your choice. And third-party fulfillment, that's exactly where the Vapi steps in. Basically, we combine both. We provide Amazon sellers with the FBA preparation services and FBM, of course. I will explain you in details why Amazon sellers choose Vapi in that case to help with the FBA prep. Its answer is super easy. Amazon, like when you send the goods and when you sell the goods quickly, so the goods just not being stored for a month. In case if you are not selling that well, you will get the penalties for storing for a while. With Vapi, that works in an absolutely different way. We receive the goods in the bulk, for example, from your manufacturer in China, and we just make the small shipments that are delivered to Amazon. So basically, you save your Prime options, you still get those marketing promos that Amazon offers for Amazon sellers. But instead of worrying for extra penalties for the storage, you're just kind of flexible with that part. And another option is when you do both. You diversify the risks, you store with Vapi, but also do FBM. So with that part, we receive your orders, we pick and pack the order, and we send it to Amazon. What else? When you should start consider third-party fulfillment. So basically, as we discussed earlier, it's a cost-cutting question. In Europe, FBA can be more expensive than working with the local 3PL provider. So it's something where you need to be, where you need to done some math to compare the cost and to understand either it's better to work with Amazon directly, either it's better to spread your goods between different warehouses inside you. Going global, yeah, it's same here. For example, with Vapi, we have more than 11 warehouses in our portfolio, so we can choose the best one exactly as per your needs and as per your target audience. That makes it easy to go global. And the branding control, this one I love because that's something that makes brand awareness. And for example, with Amazon, you just receive your parcel in Amazon box. With the additional 3PL provider, you can make this branding control on the next level. You can deliver your branded boxes. You can ask the warehouse to put into some thank you cards or something extra to make your package looks even more attractive for your customers. And yeah, let's discuss why Amazon sellers love third-party providers. It's a flexible logistic. I have a beautiful phrase that I love to say to our clients when they ask why we should consider third-party providers. And it sounds like the ride with the Amazon is like a ride with the metro. So you cannot stop everywhere you want to. You just go with the flow and the stress with so many people just trying to figure out how to, where is the exit? And basically the ride with the third-party provider is like a ride with a taxi. You can stop everywhere you want to. We can put on air conditioner and make this journey smooth and enjoyable for you. And yeah, it's of course it's noise infrastructure, hustle, speed and efficiency, and last but not the least, that from one warehouse to plenty of different marketplaces. What do we mean here? A lot of third-party providers are integrated with plenty of marketplaces, so it's not just Amazon. And getting on board with such providers, you can be integrated and get access to plenty of local marketplaces. That means that you can dive deeper to the market and get even more potential audience. What else? Seamless Amazon expansion styles with WAPI. Yeah, we help with the rapid market expansion, strong brand reputation, as I say, starting with branding packages, fast delivery, happy customers, better reviews and rankings, and dedicated Amazon manager. Here at WAPI, we provide our Amazon sellers with the professionals from Amazon who's are taking care of your Amazon account, so they track your KPIs, they track how the delivery agents works, so your Amazon health stays at the good level, you won't get any penalties. And yeah, this short case study, one of our clients, mid-size e-commerce brands, wanted to expand to European market, and with us, they just did it within less than 2 weeks instead of waiting for months. We reduced delivery times to 24-48 hours. Yeah, as I said earlier, we have more than 11 facilities. And basically, when we choose the right target country for your target audience, we can deliver locally within 24 to 48 hours and cut fixed cost by 50%. What do we mean here? A lot of 3PL service providers, they are more flexible than such giants like Amazon. We can discuss the better rates and provide you with some promos and additional discounts at the beginning if we see a potential and we see the volume. So basically the flexibility, I believe flexibility at the beginning, especially when you're just expanding to new region like Europe, it's the key to successful cooperation. Yeah, to sum up, I would love to say that spreading your business and adding a 3PL provider to your Amazon operation, it's not just a simple step, I can imagine, but definitely that's worth it. So if you want to boost your sale, global online sales with WAPI, just talk with us today, scan this QR code, and our team will be happy to answer every question of yours.
Cool. Thank you very much for that, Vladislava. Interesting to see how it's as if I had seen your presentation before. Interesting to see how I discussed about FBA and FBM, and you mentioned that on your presentation as well.
Yeah,
So nice to see it. It's as if we talked. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much.
So with that said, let's move on to the next person. Thomas, I'll hand it over to you.
Hey, well, thanks both of you. Appreciate the intro, and let me see if I can get this to work. And hopefully you can see everything. So look, let's kick off. You've got 1,396 days of this US presidency, and we're talking about tariffs here, and whether you love him or you loathe him, it's not for me to say, but what I will say is that you can choose to sit out the next 1,396 days, or you can plan for something different for expansion. And today we're talking about tariffs, but tomorrow it could be platform changes, could be shipping delays, could be regulatory changes. And the thing is, whatever happens, if you're only in one market now, you're relying on that market and you're exposed. And so what I talk about with a lot of my clients is how to de-risk by expanding, and specifically to de-risk by expanding into the European continent, not just thinking about EU 27, but UK, and EU27 and doing it properly. So look, we all know tariffs aren't new. E-commerce has dodged them since day one. I've been around a long time. I've worked around these things. The brands are always working around shocks of the system, right? Brexit was a fun one. But let's just get real. In 1,396 days, something may change, it may not, and we have to not waste our time worrying about that, but let's look about what we can do to figure this out and find workarounds. And I'm suggesting, and as the team here is saying in this call, EU scaling is a really good opportunity. So there's a few numbers here that I think are really important to what we're doing. 4, 200, and the number 1. And these numbers are going to be very important to what I talk to you about over the coming 10 minutes or so. And that is that you have, as Alex has said, 4 of the top e-commerce spenders per capita are right here in Europe. There's 200 million active Amazon users literally waiting for and to go. And then we've got only like I think Alex has pointed this out, only 1% of US Amazon sellers are actually tapping into what really should be seen as a gold mine. So let's just unpack that a little bit. So you've got the UK at number 1, Switzerland and France and Germany, all really great markets to, and that's, I would say, a concentrated buying power. And if you think about your brand and how that might fit into those markets, it may not fit in all of them. It may fit in just a couple, but it doesn't matter. They're all available to you when you get started over here. And the 2 million active Amazon users, that's like really just scratching the surface here, because that's only 250 million more are actually not Amazon users yet. So there's this huge growing audience that are hungry for more products. And Amazon, as everyone knows, if you're working with Amazon already, it's a machine. It just is consuming more products. It wants more content. And the fact that only 1% of US Amazon sellers are even thinking and doing this stuff right now is wild to me, which means, think about that a different way. That's 99% of your competitors that aren't doing this. So, what's going on there? Why are they scratching their heads? And I tell you, and we'll go through some of this, that some of it is really the complexity. There's a fear. There's no one's laying out a smarter way of how to get over the border, as it were. And you've heard some really great speakers already, and you're going to hear more about how that can be very much more simple than you think. I would say I look at these stats and I'm like screaming, this is a huge opportunity. Big spenders, big user base, and right now very little competition. So let's see where we can go. So look, let's just size it up a bit different way. Look at it a different way. Right now, these are adult consumers. So 420 million adult consumers, and that's across the EU27 plus the UK. It does not include the 16 non-EU countries right now. So, okay, not all these countries are Amazon markets, but of course, Amazon is very good at spreading the love and allowing people from other countries to access products in their other markets. So, look, that is going to dwarf what you're doing if you're in North America right now. 261 million, I think, adult consumers in the US, about 34 million in Canada, from my recollection. So that's dwarfing these numbers in terms of what we can do in Europe. So I think we touched on it again. Think of Europe as what Alex said. It's one big market, but it's also a portfolio of markets. It's a mature, growing market in some areas, and there's opportunity countries in other parts of Europe. So when you think about expansion here, I think about it as not just growth, but potentially driving better margins within that growth as well. I'm not all about revenue. When I talk to clients, I'm talking about how they can improve their bottom line as well. And this is just not about nice, fancy, vanity revenue numbers. This is about creating good margin opportunities. Okay, so this is what I do. I founded 8Curve because I wanted people to be able to find local partners, and I'm like a glue that builds your business and makes it possible for you to work in the European continent with the really great partners. And I work with clients to find the bespoke partners for them. So I'm going to hustle on. In the next few minutes, what we're going to do is just look a bit about how we de-risk this. And building stability is a massive part. We talked about the tariffs, but let's talk about de-risking the business. If you're a US brand, you need to de-risk out of one region. European is going to diversify that. You're expanding, and also bear in mind you've got this free movement of goods when you're inside the EU 27. So no extra duties once you're in. A lot of the regulations are similar, and I'll talk about that a little in a minute. But we can also start really simple, and you've already talked about this with Alex. It's start with English language. It's very simple to move through it, so it doesn't have to be a big risk. So the challenges that I see, okay, you have tariffs. Tax Nexus is something I talk a lot about. We have great partners in our network that will help with the tax, but you do not want to get caught with product in France and then all of a sudden the French tax authorities are going after US revenue. We can fix that. We can help you with that. Compliance can be painful. Beauty, mostly harmonized. Supplements, not so much, but there's so many ways to work around this, whether it's reformulation, label changes, all different things. It's sometimes just the fear of what team I need. Do I need a team in country? And the way I work actually is I literally am the work as the team, the boots on the ground, as it were. But none of that should be seen as a trap. We can fix all of those things. And I encourage everyone to, and we'll talk about this at the end, but get an expansion readiness score, because that's a really good way to figure out where you should stand next. When I think about how to do this, there's two sides to this. And Alex is, again, it's like we all aligned here. The discovery process. So yeah, you need to understand the market opportunity. The compliance piece, again, you're going to have to change your labeling on some products. You're going to have to change the plug if it's an electrical product. There's going to be little areas. All of those things actually remarkably simple, and you can do it market by market. You don't necessarily have to try and figure all of these things out on day one. If you're a supplement, you can go country by country. You don't have to suddenly take on the whole of the European continent. Localization is important to me. I feel like when you're taking something from US market to the British market, you do need to tweak the language a little bit, and sometimes just even the photography a little bit. But it's very, very simple when you start to understand and you have someone who's helping you along the way. Alex has talked about costs. I will tell you about structure. You need to structure your US business, your LLCs, so that you are ready for the business for international. Then implementation, that's great. We can do implementation really well between all the partners, but I suggest start with one market. I always suggest starting with UK if you're already English-speaking US business, and build a strategy from that. Take the 5 best-selling SKUs and sort of build from that. Now, I would say, from the best way to work when I work with clients is to build internal expertise rather than passing everything just out to lots of third parties. We work with having a team with expertise inside and make sure you're communicating really well with those teams. So I'm not saying don't use third parties. I'm saying use third parties, but build resilience within your own team to make sure that your own team knows what's going on. We just had a little discussions about the different types of Amazon, but if you have Amazon already in North America and you have D2C, then maybe you want to try both. You can do both relatively easily. We've already kind of discussed the different options for that. But I'm a big fan of taking what you know and replicating it in a simplified way in the British market to start off with, whether that's doing Shopify and then building out Amazon, or Amazon then Shopify. We build that out, and some of that is just part of the discovery process of finding out the best way to do it. But the cool thing is a lot of that knowledge is already embedded in your team. That's not such a hard thing when you start to really break down what is it we really need to know. One thing I would say when we're talking about tariffs, most importantly, is that manufacturing or even finishing or assembling in Europe is really possible. And there are some really great markets. Spain, Portugal, Poland are really great markets for this. And we find that there's ways to price this out, and as part of the discovery process, it may not be something you do. You may go through an implementation process where you're using North American stock to start off with, and you take a bit of a hit. But actually, as you build, you can find that there is less tariff pain, less import pain when you are assembling in Poland and storing in the Netherlands, and the balance of the cost and savings actually works out really well. And don't forget that your lead times are going to be massively improved as well. And it gives you a bit of resilience just in terms of your overall structure of how you're building your business anyway. So that's me. Look, if you want to talk, I'm very happy to take. I do this thing called expansion readiness, which is they click the QR code or go to the site. But I want to really reiterate that if you're remotely ambitious and you want to build something out, then let's do it. These partners on this call right now are all here to help, and we can basically make sure that you are ready to take the next step and de-risk your business.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that presentation, Thomas. So that makes it too. It's as if we've talked before this webinar, and it's seen our presentation. Its element fits very nicely between Vladislava's one and yours, Thomas. Let's see if Daniel's is going to be the same. I really like the fact you were talking about the per capita comparison there. So that was actually quite interesting. And also a very valid point around, we're talking about EU marketplaces, but other countries, there's a lot of countries in the EU, Greece, for example, a lot of people buy from Amazon Italy or Amazon Germany, and the delivery service is exceptional. So that's a very valid point. Right, with that said, I'll hand it over to Daniel to go through his bit. Daniel, over to you.
Thank you, Alex. Lovely hearing from all of you presenters. Plenty of information here to absorb for our attendees. I will keep my presentation a little bit lighter, not so much information to absorb, but rather to just see and digest. Just a few words about myself before I get to my presentation. And just for the record, my presentation will show you the quickest and easiest way to handle customer support, whether it's selling US or any of the European markets. But just a few words about how I got here. So I used to be an Amazon seller, much like most people in this call, I believe. I started out in 2014, sold for around $7 million, 400,000 units throughout my years on Amazon. And now I'm in the software game instead, where we're developing software for Amazon sellers. Our company is called Fluvi. We have a whole range of features, but the feature that we're going to take a look at today is what we call Fluvi Assistant, which is an AI automated email responding tool. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. Hopefully you guys can see me now. Excellent. So we developed this tool because when I used to sell myself on Amazon, I used to receive between 50 to 60 emails every day in my Seller Central account. I had a team of 3 customer support representatives handling all of these emails, but it was the single most time-consuming task that we did on a daily basis. And now that we're developing a software, we wanted to solve this, of course. And this, of course, relates to the EU expansion for most of you. I recall when I expanded myself from US to EU, one of the difficult things back then in 2015, 2016 was to master all the languages. I mean, most of us speak English, so selling in US is fairly easy. We can explain what our product does, we can explain how it works, and we can also help our customers make the product work if they ever run into an issue. But what if you only speak English and you want to, again, sell in France, Germany, Italy, Spain? There's a lot of languages in Europe. And yeah, if you sell products, you need to be able to provide adequate post-sale service. And that's what we help with. So again, this is your buyer-seller messaging page on Seller Central. Here's a message from a customer. This one is in English. But what our tool does, which is a Chrome extension, once it's installed and you logged into a Fluvi account, you'll see this AI response button next to your input field. So when you click it, in about 3, 4, 5 seconds, a perfectly good message will be generated that answers the customer's question. We're using ChatGPT as the engine, and then we have tailored the prompt to be to fit the task at hand, which is again to service customers. This account is selling supplements. We're selling caffeine pills, L-theanine pills, that kind of stuff. And this customer in particular had a question about when they should take the pills, how many days should it take and what period of the day. And this message is generated without any context provided to Fluvi Assistant. So it uses its best guesses or common sense to create this message. But this can be tailor-made to please your tone or your style or the way you want to communicate with your customers. And I'll get to that in just a second. But circling back to the whole expansion to Europe bit, again, answering emails in a language that you know is easy, but what about if you get emails in a language that you don't speak? So here we have a message in Spanish, and if we hit AI response again, our tool, Assistant, will understand the customer's message, will understand the language the customer is speaking, and it will generate a response in the customer's own language, and also provide an English translation for us. So again, expanding to Europe doesn't need to be very hard when it comes to customer support. You don't need to know all the languages. You just need a software that can help you with this. And a few more words here. So in any marketplace where you receive a message, you can always translate that message to English. So understanding the customer's question is the simple part, but then answering it, that's where help is usually needed, especially if you're selling in many marketplaces where you don't speak the language. And the nice thing here with Assistant is that you can really tailor the messages as you please. So here, for instance, the customer is asking us about the size of the pills that we sell. And in Fluvi, I'm going to switch over to our Fluvi platform. If we head over to the Assistant feature, in the Assistant feature, you can add, I'm going to move this over here. In the Assistant feature, you can add documents or instructions, either linked to one specific product or all of your products. You can add your instructions in English. So here I've added instructions related to pill size. Again, we're selling supplements in pill form. So here I'm writing that each pill is 1/2 inch in size. And when we do get a question about the size of the pills, then that's exactly the information that Assistant will utilize, the information that I provided on the Fluvi Assistant page. And again, this can really be tailored and steered into any direction. So if I want to spice things up a little bit, let's say that I want Fluvi Assistant to start each message with a joke. That's perfectly doable. Let's try this live. So I'll just add instructions to a joke. Start each message with a joke. And I'm going to save this instruction. I didn't assign any ASIN to it, so it will be utilized for all ASINs. And we're going to try this with Kenny over here. So Kenny's asking how long the item takes to ship. If I hit AI response, it will hopefully start the message with a joke, which it in fact did. Now the quality of the joke can vary, but it will certainly follow your instructions the way, and again, tailor the messages the way you want it to. Just to give another example, so here we're telling Kenny that our items ship within 36 hours, and it's using this specific number because I told it to. So again, over here, let's see where to have it. Here I've added instructions related to shipping policy. All of the items ship within 36 hours. And again, instructions are changeable, and whenever you make changes, it saves in real time. So if I hit save here, change the instructions, I go back to Kenny's message, and I ask Assistant to help us reply to Kenny once again. Now it's using the 72-hour number that I added in instructions. So again, with Assistant, you can answer messages in any language. Each response takes 3, 4, 5 seconds to generate. So potentially you could answer hundreds of emails every hour with just the click of a button. And again, utilizing Fluvi's platform, you can then tailor each response as you see fit. You can add as many instructions or as few instructions as you want. You can explain certain situations, which Assistant will then understand and utilize the instructions to help the customers that are contacting you. And I'll end with this. So Fluvi doesn't just do emailing. We have a fairly advanced analytics platform. We show all kinds of sales data, including VAT. So that's also something that's important to keep in mind when expanding to Europe. When selling in US, Amazon collects the VAT for you. You don't really see this number but when you make sales in the EU, you get you receive the money, you receive your revenue, including VAT, and then the tax authorities in respective countries remove that VAT or claim that VAT back from you. So again, keep in touch or being mindful of your VAT sales in Europe is also important. And I'll give you an extra incentive to come and talk to us. If you head over to fluidly.com, you can sign up for a 14-day free trial. But if you contact me, I'll give you a month for free, and you can contact me simply by going to the contact form. So I'm hoping that, again, when you're expanding to Europe and if you're having trouble with your customer support, Fluvi will make your life just a tad bit simpler so you can focus on other things like compliance, shipping, and strategy, as our other panelists have explained to you. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you very much, Daniel, for that. Very, very interesting. And always a dangerous one to try something live, but it pulled through. I laughed at that joke, so I like it. Sounded like a dad joke. Okay, got it. So I've got a few questions here. So quite a few have come in, so I'm going to try and get some across to you guys. So first question that I have, I think, Vladislava, that's probably more for you. Is third-party fulfillment a good choice for smaller Amazon businesses? What would you say?
This is a good one. So I would say that if you're just a beginner, it's definitely easier to start with Amazon in the US than comparing to Europe. So in Europe, I would say if you compare third-party provider to FBA, if you're a beginner, go to Amazon definitely. And then when you reach at least 500 orders per month, 1,000 orders per month, then add a third-party fulfillment provider to your portfolio.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. A question for you, probably, Daniel, regarding if the assistant works on any other platforms I see here. So some people got interested in that.
Yeah. So for sure. So usually when you're selling on Amazon, you also have a website, you have a dedicated support email, support@yourcompany.com, perhaps. So we've integrated Assistant, not just with Seller Central, but also with Gmail and Help Scout. I used to use Help Scout myself, and I know a lot of Amazon sellers use Help Scout, especially if you have a customer support team where you need to delegate tasks and just monitor performance. So again, Assistant will work perfectly in Seller Central, and it's also compatible with Gmail and Help Scout.
Got it. Got it. Okay, cool. Very, very nice. And another question, I think, Thomas, that's probably for you. Should we prioritize Amazon as our first entry point in UK or EU, or are there any risks in putting all your eggs in one basket? What would you say?
I think it really depends, as with all of these things. But fundamentally, if your core business already is on Amazon, then testing the water with Amazon to start off with in the new market is a really good way because you know the route already. If your core business isn't Amazon, if you're just at Shopify, for instance, then starting there because you know it and then building out another platform makes more sense. So yeah, fundamentally, keeping your eggs in one basket at the very beginning doesn't matter, but we would always want to see you expanding into other marketplaces.
Alex, you're on mute.
I started to
I
think
guess the problem we had at the beginning came at the end as well, huh? Okay, sorry about that. Thanks for that, Daniel. There was another question, Vladislav. I think that one is for you. It says, how can using a fulfillment service help me save time and money on Amazon? Which I think is very, very topical. Always sellers are trying to find ways of getting some margins back because Amazon seems to just raise the cost from this side. So whatever we can do from the other side can help.
True. That's true. This is the one that we discussed, that yes, especially in Europe, when we're talking about logistics, can be more expensive regarding the working with Amazon and using their delivery method. So this is where the third-party providers step in because choosing a warehouse that is located in Italy, for example, or in Spain and can deliver from Italy to Spain, from Italy to Italy locally, it will be cost-effective than using Amazon for the same reason. Yeah, third-party providers are usually cheaper than Amazon if you're talking about delivery methods in Europe.
Oh, understood. Okay. Right. So I don't have any other questions here. I don't see anything that has come up on the panel. Okay, I've got a live one here. So it's going, what was just sent right now. So it says, one of the speakers mentioned that it's important to sell at least 50K per month before going into EU. Yes, that was me. So thank you for asking that. Any reason why? Do brand equities translate to EU? Right, I'm gonna try and click answer live this one and see how it goes. So the reason why you want to have, look, these are rules of thumb, okay? So for example, it doesn't mean that for all marketplaces the same. If you're going to try and sell, for example, on a very competitive niche, maybe yoga mats or supplements, 50K a month in USA might not cut it for Europe. But if your product is unique, no one has it, for example, then it could actually be that, hey, you might even be just launching, you're a startup, you went on Shark Tank, whatever, you got some funding, so why not go to EU? So I'm just putting these in place because from my experience running Lezat for over 7 years now, these are very typical questions a lot of our clients ask and on these meetings. So the reason why you want to have 50K as a rule of thumb is mainly for, first of all, is you have a good product. So if you're already selling at that level, you have a product that probably has more than 4.2 star reviews, people want it, you're buying at big volumes, you do the MOQs required from your factory in China or US or anywhere, etc. You probably have some people in your team supporting you because EU is quite hungry in terms of how much stock you're going to need. Then the next thing is you want to also be able to support the product in terms of packaging and how it's going to be moved into EU. There's going to be some costs at the beginning, shipping, etc. So you need to have some profits aside in order to do EU and obviously support it, especially on the Q1. And then the next also element is obviously if you have these many reviews, this sort of sales, these reviews at the beginning are actually quite crucial to launching over in EU, and they're going to help you a lot. So that's one of the main reasons why I say this. It's always a good idea to not, because as brand owners, obviously I've been selling on Amazon for 8 years as well. So as a brand owner, I want to see my product sell globally, but sometimes you might be able to do this way too fast. So each step done correctly at a time, master it before you move on to the next places. So that hopefully has answered your question, sir. I clicked the button there, so I kind of lost who it was. Santiago, so hopefully answer it.
Back to that, I think the other thing to bear in mind as they're doing the discovery process is the contribution margin that they're running. If they're running like a bigger contribution margin, then you can get away with smaller like top line revenue numbers because you've got a little bit more margin to play with. But if you're running really tight margin, then you probably need to be able. So you've got to think about the cash margins as well as the revenue numbers. And so when we do discovery process, that's a really good thing to think about.
Yeah, yep, very, very, very good one. Cool. So I see another one here. So I like we're getting a few of these coming in now as we speak. I thought we had the last one, but again, another one seems to have popped in. So, what is the impact of VAT on a typical 50K sale in EU when is VAT deducted? Anyone here wanna take that? Yep, done.
Sure, I'll give it a shot. So I have an e-commerce company in Sweden, and all countries in the EU have their own VAT percentages. So in Sweden, the VAT is 25%. In other European countries, it's I think between 17 and 25. And all prices on the Amazon European marketplaces are including VAT. So if you see a product for 25 euros on Amazon Marketplace, that's the final price the customer pays at checkout, which is different from US. In US, if you see a $25 product if it says $25 on the listing, when you get to the checkout, you'll have VAT added at the last step before you pay. But in Europe, again, the VAT is added on the price at the listing level, and the VAT again varies somewhere between usually 19 to 25% depending on the country. And when Amazon pays you, when Amazon makes the payout to your business account, you receive your payout including VAT, and then you need to report VAT either a monthly or quarterly basis, which you do through your accountant. And then your accountant will calculate how much VAT you've collected through your sales, and then you'll file, they'll file the VAT reports, and then you'll pay the VAT amount to your local tax authority. That's how VAT works in Europe.
Sorry, you brilliantly succinct, Daniel. I love that. The other thing.
Thomas, we're having a little bit difficulty hearing you. Your volume is a little bit distorted and low even.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay now?
Barely.
That's not good. Back working
There we
out.
go.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
bad.
Okay. Apologies. Hopefully it was not the whole way through. I was going to say just to bear in mind that each country also has a threshold. So depending on how you structured the way the stock comes in, and whether you've got you've structured like in the UK, if you set up a limited company before, then you would have a £90,000 starting point before you even have to pay the VAT. So, and every country's got that threshold. So depending on the structural side, you can, as a US company, for instance, go straight in and get a VAT number because you're not a limited company, and therefore you have to have stock. You've got have to have a VAT number because you have stock on the ground. But you can do this other ways, and it really is again part of that discovery process.
Yes, very, very true. And just something from my experience, actually, sometimes Amazon charges you in error, the VAT, even if you're not hitting that threshold. From my experience, we've claimed that back from a few clients, 18K. My account, I've claimed 8K from this. So it's always good to have some experience as well of local VAT, because yeah, a lot of the cases with Amazon is they're going to charge something, and unless you dispute it, etc., they're actually going to get away with it. Right. I've got time for one last question now that I see has just come in. So it says from Lokesh, as Indian-based sourcing agent, it's wonderful to watch the session. Thank you very much. My question is, will the tariff war become bigger in the coming years because of USA and EU? Both have different views on this. Now, I don't know, I guess it's kind of a political one. So maybe just a very quick one, each person what they think before we close. And I have just some final comments here. So what do you think? Maybe starting from you, Vladislava, do you think the US and EU tariff war is going to become bigger in the coming years?
Of course, definitely yes. We
Okay.
see that year by year there is more and more sellers who wants to join Amazon or start their e-com business. So of course, yes.
Okay, Daniel, what would you say?
So if the tariff war is getting wider or more complex, I think it will reach a breaking point. I think tariffs in general are a bad idea. And frankly, I think, as you said, this is a political game, not so much a financial game. I think we'll see a breaking point at some point where we go back to the previous system. It might not be this year, it might not be next year, but I think in not too distant future. But because this person Lokesh is based in India, perhaps his question is actually more towards the Indian market. If you do source from India, I believe tariffs will not be as drastic as if you source from China. It seems to me that both US and Europe wants an ally in the East of Asia, and India is that country. It seems to me that both Europe and US have been fairly friendly with India, fairly, I'm saying. And compared to their bigger threat, which in their mind is China, I think it's both in Europe's and US's best interest to keep a friendly tone with India, and therefore taxes on Indian products shouldn't be much affected by tariffs, is my best guess currently.
Cool. Okay. And a very quick one from you, Thomas.
Yeah, look, it's very good from Daniel, like the same sort of thing. But the thing to remember is that if you separate out the UK, because whatever your thoughts on Brexit, the one thing that happened was that UK was not lumped in with EU with the tariffs, and so you have an option to start in the UK where there is totally different regimes and different negotiations going on, and especially if you're looking at India, UK, where there's very close ties, obviously from a past that's very close, as well as US seem to have a different relationship in terms of tariffs right now against Europe. So definitely, there are options within the European continent even to think about this. But I'm a positive person. I think this is going to be a short-lived screaming match.
Perfect. Okay, great. Well, if I have to say something here, I think overall there's going to be some different type of tariffs imposed to USA to EU, EU to India, India to China. So there's going to be that element, but at some point you will get back to an equilibrium because I think the market is just going to automatically fix itself. So perfect. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining this call. I hope you learned something today. The recording is going to be available on our Lezat YouTube channel as well. We're going to also do some social media posts. I've pasted here, copied and pasted here the LinkedIn's of each of the speakers. So feel free to reach out to them and connect with them with LinkedIn and ask any questions you have from there. Thank you very much, and I'll see you at a future one. Take care.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.